Well, good to have you on here, man. I'm glad you could finally make it here. We've been kind of debating on like what's the first episode and who you want to use. So I've been kind of pushing like Mark Tucker. You know, he's like a local hero around here.
Oh my God!
But I'm just glad to have you on here, man. I just want to get kind of started. And I want to start with the early days of football. That's kind of like the thing that I do when I get people on here. I want to talk to them, and not necessarily always about sports, but most of the guys I've had on here, we talk about sports, and I do it because I want the parents to hear it from somebody who's been there, somebody who's been through all these different like life adventures and things that have been presented to you. So when you first started playing football, and we're not gonna go back to like the baby football, but like ninth grade, like when did you?
Ain't no baby football. That was when I started. But no, I appreciate you having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, you and I have been buddies for a minute, and we chop it up and have a good time, give each other a hard time. So, yeah, I appreciate being here.
Absolutely.
I guess the biggest thing is, you know, I know things have changed and times have evolved. You know, I'm an old head, you know, just turned 55. So I get it. I've been around football, you know, since I was 15 years old. And so I've seen all the change. I've seen things that have happened, whatever. You know, for me it was, you know, I didn't play Pop Warner.
Yeah.
I didn't start till I got to high school, and I always tell people this story. I go, when I went to my high school was at the time a powerhouse high school football program, nationwide, nationally known. You know, always big time D1 guys coming out, guys getting recruited, whatever. I show up there, little chubby 15-year-old. You know, I couldn't even get dressed. You know, you and I talked about this.
What do you mean get dressed? Like in the uniform?
Yeah, like when I went in the locker room, you know, they gave me the football pants and the you know, and now, you know, Nike got everything built in, it's sewn in.
Because you had to put the thigh pads in, knee pads. You had to have help to get that stuff on.
I'm looking at the dudes. I'm like, hey man, I'm like, where'd this go? And they're like, oh, and I ain't never played before, man. Like I played in the street, I played at the park. But I ain't never put on a uniform before, so I have no idea what I'm doing right now. So dudes are like, oh, man, you know, so they're like, you know, and that was, you know, it was cool because we had such a tradition and such a brotherhood that guys understood, like, hey, we got this dude, man. He has gone through all the summer training, you know, getting his, you know, butt kicked out there, doing up downs, grass drills, driving sleds, doing all this kind of stuff. So obviously this dude has the drive and the motivation, so he just needs a little bit of guidance. So, hey, man, you know, so guys are showing you how to do it. And so, you know, where my story is going is here's a kid that showed up in 1983, didn't even know how to get dressed in a uniform. And then 3 years later, I could write my ticket to any school in the country.
Yeah.
So I know how things evolve. I know how things work. You know, I know that, again, you and I have had, you know, numerous conversations. We know that this day and age, nobody has any patience. Nobody has the resolve to, hey, let's work through stuff. Yeah. It's the, you know, I'm jumping on the soapbox. It's the entitlement.
It's fine. That's why I brought you here.
It's the entitlement. It's the you know, it's the instant gratification. You know, I want what I want right now. You know, I want it to happen right now. I need to be a D1. Major D1 prospect, like right now.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's funny because your story is so similar to my story, and I think a lot of guys that are our age and our generation, most of us just play sports in the neighborhood. You didn't have the money to go to the YMCA. I say YMCA, these guys have trainers. So, you know, yeah, you didn't have that kind of money to say, I'm going to go work with this trainer. If your buddy had a football, you go play football at the park. You basketball, you go down to the courts and you play until the street lights come on. And then you had to get your butt home. So I'm kind of in a similar situation where my first time playing was in ninth grade. And it was just like, I love this. This is what I want. And it's like you're almost crazy. Like you get hooked on it so quick if it's what you want. So you get there and you're this pudgy little, which blows my mind because you're Big Swole now. That's your handler on everything. That's how you Big Swole. Everybody knows Big Tough. But coming in as that 15-year-old, like, how did you, when you first walked on that field, what was that like to look around and say, oh my God, I got to go against all these guys. I'm trying to get a job. Like I want what you have, and if I got to take it from you, like how did you get your mindset like that as a high school player?
Well, I think for me, it was a thing where I was pretty much told, I wouldn't be a success because of the grandeur of our program, and like you had to be a baller.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, you never really played football, so you gonna go to this program and you think you finna really go there and do this. And so it was in the back of my mind, it was proving a lot of people wrong, but it was also proving to myself that I could do it.
Right.
And just that whole thing of just my developing my confidence in myself and just kind of figure out where I'm at. And it's like, you're gonna take your lumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just, and you just take them, man. It's like I'm going against I'm going against a guy who's going to be a D1 prospect,
right,
or a guy that is a D1 prospect. Yeah, he gonna hand me my ass. So I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna learn from it.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna figure out, okay, at some point I'm gonna get tired of getting my head bashed in, and
yeah,
I'm gonna
do something about it.
So I ain't running to no therapist. I ain't gonna run to mom. Whatever. I'm again, as you and I have discussed, my high school football coach was big on the scene, called it intestinal fortitude.
Yeah.
It's just guts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. So let me ask you this question then. So with what we were just talking about with kids being able to move around, if looking back at it, knowing what you know now, if you had the opportunity to say, you know what, this school is too much for me, I think I want to go somewhere else. Was that ever an option? Was that ever a thought in your head to be like, this is too much, I want to go somewhere where it's a little easier maybe?
No, because to me it was all about the challenge.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that, again, we discussed that it separates us. I'm looking for the challenge. I'm not looking for the easy road. I'm looking for the challenge. I'm looking for, and it's not that you're so much so knowing at that time that it's going to play so much into your life, into your development as a person, but it's a challenge. Like I'm gonna prove to myself I can get this done, and I'm gonna prove to my naysayers that I'm gonna get it done.
Absolutely.
And so, again, I get it now. I've been around, this newer, whatever, how we do things now, and I know kids jump around, transfer, and I get all that. It's just, I had a kid ask me the other day. We're talking about the NIL, and it was a younger coach I was talking to actually, and he knew our staff, and he was asking about if I had gotten an NIL deal from somewhere else, because the kid from, as we're talking about this, kid from U of A, receiver from U of A, SC offered that kid $250,000 in NIL, and he didn't want to leave, and I guess he apparently told the U of A coaches, like, yeah, I'm not trying to leave, but
it's a lot of money. And unfortunately, that's what it's coming down to. Is like you can go out and you can buy these kids now.
And you got kids that come from disadvantaged backgrounds, man, less than backgrounds. So I get that, and I was one of those kids, like you and I have discussed. And so it's like, if somebody threw that kind of money at me, would I have left? And I go, it's hard to say because I'm so far removed, and it's I can say right now, knowing what I know now, knowing with my mom's situation and how I was growing up, it'd be easy to jump at $250,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to USC because it was USC,
right?
Because I grew up 2 blocks from that school.
You grew up loving it.
I walked to that campus. I would go to practice and watch Marcus Allen and Ronnie Lott and Roy Foster and all these guys at practice, and never in a million years did I even fathom that I'd actually had the opportunity to go to school, play football there, graduate from there, leave a legacy there, and like I said, growing up, I remember when I first moved there, like literally our neighborhood on Saturday would just be flooded, people, because it was right across the street from just the neighborhood, and it was called Exposition Park, and so people would just be parked all throughout the neighborhood, and then people would have lots, whatever. They would charge for parking, and it was just nuts. And so I'm like, hey man, what the hell's going on over there? Like, what's this whole big, and like, cause I didn't even start playing football yet. I'm like, what is this whole? What's going on? Oh, they go, USC's playing at the Coliseum today. I'm like, okay. What's the big deal? It's like, well, it's like the, big time college football, man. So every week during football season, man, every Saturday going to be like this when they play at home.
That blows my mind because I'm like, this jersey behind me with this big Rose Bowl on it.
Hey.
And you live right across the street. That's like me growing up in North Carolina. Chapel Hill was just like, that's where I wanted to go to school. Basketball, Michael Jordan, Lawrence Taylor. Like it was now, it's like I don't feel like those kids have that same connection. It's like you automatically, you go in looking at it like it's a free agency contract. You go in and it's like, who can make the best deal for me? Who can give me what I want? Which I get it, because I'm one of those people for a long time. I'm like, we need to pay these athletes. These athletes need more money. But now as a parent of a kid who's going through it, there's so many dangers and so many pitfalls, and you're constantly having to remind them that it's not about the money. Go where you're going to go, because for 4 years I could see myself being here. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, and these were the discussions that I had with Deuce, and he was just like, no, Dad, I get it. And so many kids make a decision based on, money or
facilities.
The facilities,
uniforms.
But yeah. Oh my God, with the uniform, we could talk about Oregon about that one. I don't know. They started a dangerous trend, but it's just the way that it is now. But I want to kind of go back to when you were in high school and I looked you up. Like, I've been your friend. So to me, you're Tuck. I'm like, I don't go on the internet looking you up, trying to figure out who the hell you are. But I actually did that. And I'm looking at when you were in college, man, like you came in and you started as a true freshman.
No, redshirt.
So you redshirt. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was reading that and they got your stuff wrong because I was just like, man, Tuck went in and he was kicking ass as a true freshman.
Yeah. Nah.
Okay, so you redshirted, so that makes a little bit more sense. So, but even when you redshirted, and like, what was that first year like for you since you redshirted? Because that's something that I want to discuss with parents who are going through it with their kids, like redshirting versus not redshirting. How, if you do redshirt, how do you use that year to your advantage? Don't take it like it's a shot at you, like you suck. You're just not ready yet. Like, so what was that like for you?
Well, that's the problem, is that you got too many people that their ideals about themselves are probably bigger than what they are. And I get it. And there are some freshmen, man, that are kids that just ready to go. Right. And it's different now, again, because our discussions, the way kids train now, the way kids develop, the way they mature, there are kids that are ready to step in and play as true freshmen. 1986, I wasn't ready to play as a true freshman. It wasn't.
1994,
it wasn't going to happen. So, I go in knowing I'm a red shirt, and at the time, again, what's really more important to me? Well, graduating from this school is really that's what's paramount. But, I knew I needed that time to develop, and then and you get humbled. And that's I think, again, that's another thing that this day and age, people ain't real big on being humbled, but you get humbled because you go from being big man on campus, and I'm the man. I got my chest out, and I'm a big bad Tuck on at Banning High School, and all of a sudden I'm at USC. Now I'm this little punk ass freshman, and now I gotta earn my stripes.
Right.
And again, like I just laugh at the conversation that I had with Deuce when he came to school. Talking about how everybody was all whatever. Everybody was all county.
Yes.
Everybody was all state. Everybody. So all them accolades, all that, them stars. Nobody give a damn about them stars.
God. I hate that star rating system. Because as well as I do, Deuce was like the 4th rated defensive lineman in this state, and I'm like furious about that. But you can't get caught up in that as a parent, as a player. You know what you can do, but you still. And I know for me, I wanted that acknowledgement for him. I wanted him to get everything he had earned. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter, because you get kids that are 5 stars that go to college and you're like, dude, this guy's terrible. You get a kid that nobody's ever heard of, and all of a sudden now you got a 4-year starter. So, I try not to get wrapped up in it, but it's hard not to, because you're a parent.
You want the best for your kid.
You absolutely do.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like it like I said, now it levels the playing field. So, I walk out there and I, now I'm a scout team player.
Yes.
And then and it's like, okay, back to square one again. Yeah. And you don't get caught up in your feelings and you don't get butthurt. You're like, okay, you know what? It's just it's a proving ground. Yeah. I got to go out here and bash heads with these dudes, and I know it's gonna make me better.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I'm going against, all conference linemen, all conference linebackers. This is the first team defense that's gonna play on Saturday. Yeah. So if I'm trying to get my butt on the field, this is where I'm gonna sharpen my my toolbox. Yeah. Is gonna come from here. So, hey man, I just went to work, and so a funny story was we had this D-line coach who.
Hey, be careful where you're going with D linemen now.
His son coaches out here now. I think his son coached at Corona. So his name was Mike Ackerley, and me and Coach Ackerley didn't get along too well. But thank God he was the D line coach. I was the line coach. So one day after practice, my O-line coach calls me into the office and he goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." I'm thinking it's something, he gonna give me a coaching point or it's something positive. He said, "Hey, Coach Ackley kind of made a reference to you kind of dogging it on the scout team." Oh. And I was like, "Come again?" And he was like, "Yeah, and I said, "So like taking it easy, like taking plays off, whatever." He was like, "Yeah." I go, "Well, I go, the defense is supposed to win. I do realize that." I said, "But I blocked my guy. I blocked the assignment or whatever." I said, and I finished the play. I said, "But I'm not, the defense is supposed to win or whatever." I said, "But I don't dog it on the scout team." I said, "I go full speed." I said, "But, thank you for letting me know that." I said, because now.
Rattled that cage.
Hey, now you didn't lit that fuse.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. You calling me soft.
I'm a different, I'm a different dude, and I know everybody talks about, people always talk about where they from, whatever. I'm sorry, I'm from South Central Los Angeles, dog. I'm from the hood. I'm right across the street from the school. You done lit the fuse. So the next time we got to practice, it was a dude that was from my high school. He had been offensive lineman in my high school, and they made him into a defensive lineman, and so. It was this backside block. He tried to cross my face, and I took him, and I put my forearm right in his throat and drove him just on the ground. And so he was like, "Dang, Tuck, it's like that." I said, "Hey," and I said, "Hey," I said, "Go talk to Mike."
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've had that happen to me too. Like when you're redshirted, you're out there and the guys are like, "Hey man, take it easy. Just get to where you're supposed to get. Let us block you." So you're like, "Okay, I'm a freshman. I don't really know what's going on. I don't want to get anybody riled up and get into a fight." And then when you're watching film, they stop. Like I know for us anyway, if you're on a scout team, they used to watch film right in front of everybody. Be like, "Davis, what are you doing right here?" "Well, coach, I'm just doing." "Oh, well, that's a great way to get on the field. You keep doing that." And just kept going. And so you sit there and you're like, "Oh, okay. I understand what that means." So next practice, now you're out there going all out, and guys are like, "Hey, man, why don't you calm down?" "Hey, man, you need to go talk to the coach. I'm trying to get on the field." So it's funny that you went through it. I've gone through it. Deuce is going through it. I think any player who's worth their weight in anything is going to hear that and say, "Okay, then I need to make a decision. Am I going to continue to get better, or am I going to keep listening to these guys who at the end of the day, they're on the field, so they don't really care what you have to say. They're like, all right, you keep doing what you're doing. I'll make me look good." But that's interesting that you got that same fire thrown at you, because I've had it done to me like, "Hey, you need to pick it up out here." So now when you got on the field in college, like, because I was looking this stuff up, Tuck, I mean, you got Lombardi Awards. I mean, that goes to like the best linemen in the country. What is that like being on that list? Because those accolades, I didn't get those kind of accolades. So when I hear about, I love that, man. I'm like a big fanboy. I'm a big fan of the game. I love the jerseys. Like when you pull that jersey out and Rose Bowl on it, I mean, it looks like a practice jersey now by today's standards, but I mean, that thing has the rose on it. Like, that's a big deal. So when you were getting all these accolades in college and you started being like Big Swole and Big Tuck, like, what was that like? No, you're laughing, but what was that like?
Well, just, I mean, I know for a fact, you know, talking to my friends, people that know me, people that have always said that I'm, you know, probably too humble. It meant a lot, but it was it never like leveled out where I felt like I didn't, I guess, need to achieve more. It was great to have my name on it. I felt, it helped to breed my own self-confidence.
Right.
As a person, as a player, it fueled, everything, and quantified everything that I was doing as far as how I trained, how my approach was, my mindset. So that I guess if it anything, it just helped. It helped just the self inspiration, the self inspiration, or some motivation, inspiration, whatever you want to call it. Just like I said, I always kept everything in perspective, and so that's what kept me grounded. I know where I came from. I knew how hard I worked to get to the points that I was getting to. So, I'll always treasure the fact that I was able to accomplish the things that I was, able to accomplish. And it's like, I guess, the one thing that really means a lot to me is the fact that, at that time, it's not so much now, but it kind of still has its name, whatever. But USC was known as an offensive line factory. They produced offensive linemen. So in the history of the All-American offensive lineman at USC, I was the 24th All-American offensive lineman in USC history. So that if there's anything that I really carry with me, that's a big, I think means a lot to me, is that, because again, growing up 2 blocks from that school, standing on that practice field as a young kid, on my bike, coach coming and saying, hey, you guys are always welcome to come, and this at that time, this when John Robinson was the head coach there. And, I've seen all the All-Americans, and then all of a sudden to see your name amongst these guys is like, wow, okay, I've made it full circle. And then, and again, like I said, having my degree, man, for USC was huge, because I thought I was going to be, a Southern California resident the rest of my life. And so I knew that tapping into that alumni, foundation, association, whatever you want to call it, like I knew that I would never want for work.
Yeah.
If I did it right, connected myself, and that's where it comes into play, where you talk about, you go to a school like USC, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's not true.
You sit in a class, you don't know who you sit next to. This dude could be the next CEO,
right,
COO, or some.
Yeah, you have no idea who you're sitting next to.
You come in there and you looking for a job, and they plug you into hey, well, call these guys or call this guy. You just never know. And all of a sudden, the dude that you sit next to in class, your resume comes up. I remember this dude.
Yeah.
And I know a situation that actually happened in real life to a buddy of mine, and was able to use that as a springboard to push him forward, in a company where he went from being a grunt to wearing a suit and tie to work every day.
That's good.
So, and again, it goes back to what we talked about. These kids pick schools nowadays because of particular uniform combination they have, or the facilities. Do they have the top notch facilities or whatever? And that's how college football has evolved. That's how schools like Oregon became relevant, because they were irrelevant for so long. But because we all know there ain't shit to do in Eugene, Oregon. Let's just keep it real. So how do you get a kid to come to Eugene, Oregon? Well, you start having these flashy uniforms. You had this flashy offense. Yeah. You put together these unbelievable facilities, and then now you start, and so to answer your, something you addressed earlier, tradition is lost.
Yeah.
Nobody knows these kids don't watch the game from the nostalgic point of view, looking at the historical point of view of these programs and seeing the players that came through there. They're looking at highlights, YouTube. They couldn't tell you any history about the game, whatever. You ask a kid who's the first defensive player to win the Heisman, these kids can tell you. Right. And it's from one of the major, we all know it's Woodson from Michigan, but that's one of the most historic programs ever in college football.
Charles Woodson
won the Heisman as a defensive player, but these kids can tell you that. And is it really relevant information that you should know. If you're a football player, probably should know that.
Yeah.
You know, if you call yourself a football player, but again, and that takes me down to, a whole another road that, and again, a discussion that we had is that, these kids don't know football.
Yeah.
They watch football, but they don't know football. They're football aptitude. The ones that have the football aptitude, those are the ones you see their game elevates. They're the ones that they're constantly making plays on Friday nights. They're the ones that are getting the notice. They have the talent and the aptitude. And so now, I find myself as a coach having to teach, before I can even teach guys to be offensive linemen, I got to teach you football.
Yeah.
Just to teach you the game, just the basics of football. But that's something you would think that you would already know. But it's understanding that this generation, it's a lost art.
Yeah, it is. Because you think you just get out there, you see all these guys in the NFL and even in the NBA, you watch like Seth Curry shooting up threes and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to go out there and do that. Like, how many thousands of hours has he put in the gym to get there? You don't just walk out on the court. You don't just walk out on the field and say you got it. Like, it takes so many hours in the dark when nobody knows what you're doing. When you're in the gym, I joke with you about it, but even when Deuce was going through it, I would see you at LA Fitness. You'd be walking in and we're in there just going. And, not doing it for the glory. We're not having a bunch of cameras around us and setting up videos. So you're like, look what I'm doing. Like, you work in the dark. So then when it's your time, because you're only going to get a small window. When you get that opportunity to say, hey, Davis, get in there. Hey, Tuck, let's go. That's it. That may be your only opportunity that you get to show this coach what you can do. And if you're not ready, if all you do is sit around all day, well, this coach doesn't like me and he's picking on me and he's hard on me. Well, they're hard on you because they see something. When they stop talking to you, like we always say, I'm worried when you stop talking to me as a coach. When you're finally just like, I don't know what else to say to you. I don't know what else to do. I've given you everything. I've told you, hey, come by. Let's look at some film. I can help you. We need to work out. You need to train. You need to do all these things to get better. And if you're not doing them, and it's been a year, it's been 2 years, I've got to move on. And then that's when you start getting the negative, oh, this coach doesn't care. And it's like, you don't understand what goes on. You only hear when little Billy or little Johnny comes home, oh, Mark Tucker hates me. He's always making fun of me. He's always talking about me. But it's like, this has been going on for years, and you only hear what you want to hear as a parent at home. So being a high school coach, when you get those situations, like, how do you deal with this? Because I think this is important for parents to hear from somebody who's been at Hamilton for like 20 years. You won every single championship they won. You've put some great kids out there. You're somebody who, if you know anything about football, you're like, that's Mark Tucker. Like, he's an offensive lineman. I respect what he has to say. So when you get a parent who's like, well, my kid is up here, how do you deal with that? If you could tell a parent, if you're going to come talk to me about your kid, here's how you should do it.
Well, the thing about it too is that those have been few and far in between. Most of the parents I've had have always been, hella respectful. What I've been thankful for is that I've actually had parents, people bring their kids to Hamilton because of me, being there as a substitute teacher and as a football coach. Just a few cases that I've had to, deal with. Again, I haven't had a parent just come out and outright, challenge my knowledge or my coachability or anything like that. I guess I'm waiting on that day to come.
No, you're not. No, you don't need that.
But it's just like parents nowadays. Again, I know they want the best for the kid. As a coach, I want the best for your kid. I'm not trying to. I didn't get into this business. This will be my 25th season. Coming to coaching at Hamilton. I didn't get into this business to screw kids over. Right. I'm probably honest. To a fault, but again, I have more. Yeah, I have parents that respect that, but I have more kids, more of my players that respect and love my honesty.
Yeah.
Because I think as a player, you want the cold hard truth.
Yeah.
I would like to think that, a lot of times I want to challenge these parents. I'm like, okay, what about on your job? Does your boss, does he call you to the carpet? Does he hold you to,
Hold you accountable.
We none of us are perfect,
Right.
but I like to see you at your job. I love to hear what your boss has to say about you. What's your boss's evaluation about you? I said, because I tell you what, I can call my captain right now, Ty Turner, and he'll give you a full evaluation of what he thinks of me. And it's sterling. And whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm here to challenge your kid. I'm here to push him. I'm here to make him better. Yeah, I'm not gonna placate his feelings, and yeah, I'm not gonna be just outright derogatory and destructive. But yeah, am I gonna give him shit? Yeah, I am. I'm gonna give him a hard time, but I'm preparing him for life.
Yeah.
And that's that's been my approach since the day I started coaching.
And I can tell you, my son, defensive lineman, so he never really dealt with you like that. But he had my daughter too as well. The utmost respect. They're like, Dad, you can always know where you stand with Coach Tucker. You're never gonna be in that gray area. You're never gonna be lukewarm. You're either gonna be black or you're gonna be white. And so, like you say, those kids respect that because they get such BS from people sometimes where you're like, well, what's real and what's not real. So when you get somebody who is, very much a blunt instrument, it's like, well, it's a little bit hard to deal with. But as you go through it and you start dealing with it, some of the fondest memories Deuce still talks about. He sees you, and it's like he's dapping up his dad. My daughter, when she sees, that's Coach Tuck. Like, everybody knows Coach Tuck in Arizona. I mean, being a firefighter, playing ball here, it's just like people are just like, wow, that's Mark Tucker. That's Mark Tucker. So that's why I'm like always so excited. I was very excited to get you in here because I know that a lot of people know you and respect you. And I wish that we did have more time because there's so much more to you to unpeeling this onion. But, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being on here, man, and just, coming by and spending some time with me and just, this is a great opportunity for me just to get to know you about things that you and I don't really talk about. We don't talk about, oh, well, I did this in football, I did that in football. We talk about our kids. We talk about how can we make them better? How can we be better as men? So to be able to sit down with you and get to learn things about you that I really didn't know, that's something that I feel like is just a great opportunity when I sit here and I talk to people who I've known for years, but now I'm getting to know their accomplishments. So, thank you very much for coming in here and being a part of this.
Well, no, I appreciate you having me, man, and I look forward to hopefully I get to come back again and we chop it up again. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you back. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks for tuning in to The Route. Don't forget to subscribe and connect with us on socials for exclusive updates. We'll see you next week.